So regarding the church in China, or churches, however you want to put it, the registered church and the underground church, um, versus those two, um, I've come to understand, you know, regarding like the discussion board, I would choose Dow's position as far as not compromising with the gospel and really separating church from state. Um, I understand there's points when you don't separate church from state. Say political, voting or something like that, or you know, um, standing up for injustices and things like that to some degree, and to what degree that is, it's a very large gray area that theologians are obviously trying to depict and understand on our position. But I would rather go to prison rather than compromise the gospel, because if the government is limiting how much of the gospel is being preached, I feel that the message is cut short, and that ends up developing lukewarm, partial disciples, disciples that aren't giving their lives to Christ, but just giving their faith, which is, yes, we live by faith for our salvation, but there's a greater implication. I believe there's greater callings and commands that God calls us to. It's not just one command: love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. There's two. There's a second one: to love your neighbor as yourself. And within fulfilling that, doing that second law, all the laws are fulfilled. Doing that second command, all the laws are fulfilled. So what I feel is, and you can't have, they're married. They're two commands that are married, and if one is done, the first command, and the second isn't, then there's something wrong with the first command. Is an individual, is a new disciple, Chinese or not really, it doesn't matter who, but are they really following after Christ? Is it a life given to Him in servitude, or is it just I believe in this God? Is it another God amongst the other gods, like an idol? Do we put Jesus next to Buddha? Is that what's happening there? I don't know. I haven't done enough research into finding these things out on to the depth of education and self-reading, self-proclamation of believing by the church that is registered and the church that is not registered and is underground, though it is known, but being not registered and distant from the government rule, I suppose. As I've written in this assignment of this week, I understand that there's still very much persecution on the church, believing that it's the church that is registered and unregistered. I hear that churches are being burned down, and I assume that the unregistered church, the underground church, is a church that is not really seen, not just because of the word underground, but they're two different worlds almost for the same cause. And that's really my difference is do we go along with an oppressive government that is really designed to oppose any other opposition against them, falls true or not, and do we compromise what the truth is? Do we dumb it down and stagnate the message and even the believers in order for it to just survive? Or in my mind, is it really a government, or a registered church that is able to preach the full message, but it has to be done, say, in small groups or in house churches or something like that? My concern is the whole message getting out, and if so, good. I mean, I want the whole message to be out, but that's really my distinction and my difference is the registered church is not giving a full message, And the underground church has the greater ability to have no bounds with that, and really give the whole message and not be governed by an outside government that is oppressive and seeking really only to not allow the freedom that Christ gives us. So yeah, that's my thing.